My name is Jack and I live here in Lake Park, Florida, which is in South Florida. Come on in and see where I am. So this is my condo, and I'm going to tell you the best reason to live here. And it's right there. I love this place because it's big and it has these really peaceful views. You can see we have all the boats, and we have the water. So I like to sit here after work and just look outside and take it all in. So I live here alone, but for this, I get to have some of my favorite people join me. So the person holding the camera is my daughter-in-law, Lindsay, and this is my son, Matthew, and my granddaughter, Ryan. Say hi, Ryan.
The horse?
And this is her room. So now I'm going to show you where the kitchen is. So the kitchen is my favorite place because I do a lot of stuff in here. Obviously I do laundry in here, but I also bake a lot. I bake a lot. So I have a lot of baking stuff, and a lot of it is hidden in closets because it just looks messy. So tonight I'm going to make something that I grew up with. My family is from Holland. Well, my mom's side of the family is from Holland, and we grew up, me and my brother and sister, grew up in Holland and Germany because my dad was in the Air Force, so we spent a lot of time in Europe before moving to the United States when I was a teenager. So a lot of things that we cooked in my Oma's house or my mom's house was pork belly. So tonight we're going to be making, well, I've already started the pork belly, and fondant potatoes and red cabbage. So these are things that we had all the time growing up. My mom made it all the time, and my Oma made it all the time. So I'm going to do kind of the same thing that my Oma would have made, but in a more modern way. Okay? Making these fondant potatoes, I've already seared them, and I just put in some thyme compound butter. So they're going to sit in this butter for a couple of minutes, and then I will kind of spoon this butter over top the potatoes, and then they'll finish off in the oven until they're really nice and tender. And by the time they're tender, the pork belly will be done and the red cabbage will be done, and I'll show you how I plate this meal. Add some chicken stock to these potatoes because the butter has gotten nice and frothy and tan. So these are ready to go into the oven to finish off. And pretty soon, we're gonna have dinner. Now I'm taking the pork belly out, so I'm gonna make some gravy from the dripping. So the first thing I like to do is make a roux, which is just basically melted butter. So this is like 3 tablespoons of butter with about 3 tablespoons of flour that I'll make into a slurry until it gets nice and thick. And then I'll add the drippings from the pork belly plus a little bit of stock just to make it a thinner type gravy, because we just wanted to moisten the potatoes a little bit. So basically with the roux, you just want to cook it down until the flour stops being clumpy and you get that nice creamy texture to it. So this looks good. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Put these pork drippings in here, which is where all the goodness is, because like my sign says, bacon makes everything better. So my mantra for cooking is bourbon, bacon, and butter. You can't have enough of anything in your food. So I'm just going to cook this for a little bit until it starts getting a little thicker, and I'll probably add a little bit more stock just so I have a little bit more gravy to work with. So now I want to talk about the red cabbage. Now I had said earlier that when I was growing up, red cabbage was a staple. It's very, very cheap, it's super easy to make, and it's got a ton of flavor. I know Ryan. Ryan wants my attention right now. Ryan, can you say hi to Mommy? So, this, the red cabbage is cooked now. What's going on? When my kids were growing up and when I was growing up, it was always about red cabbage. So the way we would make it is the Dutch way. So this is how we make red cabbage in Holland. You cook down your red cabbage. I like to chop it up. And let me get some of this water off. And we always cook it with bay leaves in the water. And if you're like me, I usually like to save this red that comes off of the water because I bake a lot, so I like that red color in my red velvet cakes. It's like a natural coloring. Okay, so now we put our red cabbage in a bowl. And we put some sugar in here. I usually use like a half a cup of sugar that we just sprinkle on. I know. And some apple cider vinegar. Okay. Oh, what's coming on, Ryan? So we just pour some apple cider vinegar on there. And then we mix it up. And then you can smell that vinegar flavor. So when your red cabbage turns like more pinkish, then you know that vinegar has been infused into all of the red cabbage and you're ready to eat it. So we usually cook this with our potatoes. When my kids were growing up, we made purple potatoes. And purple potatoes were the only way I could get my kids to eat cabbage. What do you want, honey? What? Oh, book. Yeah, she likes to play with sprinkles. Okay, so the red cabbage is done. So like I was saying before, purple potatoes. If you have kids who love mashed potatoes but don't really like vegetables, put some red cabbage in your potatoes, mix it up, and call them purple potatoes. They will eat it every single time. So now we're just waiting on these potatoes, which should be done in about 8 minutes. And then I'll plate it all up for you, and you'll be super hungry when you see it. I should have used a thicker towel. That cast iron is hot. The best way to slice a pork belly that you crisped up is to flip it over. Now this one I cooked on a bed of onions so it would retain some moisture and add some flavor. So you're just going to brush that away. And you're going to take your super sharp knife and cut some slices. You can hear the crispiness of that crispy skin. So I like to cut like a 1-inch slice. It looks nice on the plate and it's a good portion for people. Do you hear how crunchy that skin is? It's the best thing you can put in your mouth. Literally. And you can see pork belly does not dry out like a lot of porks because of the fat content. So it's always nice and juicy, flavorful. So let's get on to plating. Favorite parts about cooking is making everything look really pretty. So I like to plate. So first I'm going to start with putting some gravy on the bottom of the plate because for one, I just like gravy on the bottom of the plate. You don't mess up your presentation, and it doesn't make my pork belly soft because it's nice and crispy and I want to keep it crispy. So I'm just going to put a couple of spoonsful and kind of squish it around, just like that. And then obviously, when you pick me for the show, I'll clean up the edges a little bit more. So now I'm going to put on a piece of pork belly, and I want the crispy skin up, and I'm going to put that right there. Now, a couple of fondant potatoes, which are really hot, that I'm gonna put right here. Oops, that one fell. So 2 potatoes is usually a good number for your guests. This one needs to be propped up, which is what I'm going to do right now. Okay, and then just a nice scoop of. So in Holland, we usually serve our gravy over top the potatoes and red cabbage, but since I put the gravy on the bottom, the cabbage still gets the gravy without messing up the way that I want it to look. And there you go. A very traditional Dutch meal served in a modern way. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and pick me.